Ocean, the most beautiful place on the planet, with the waves crashing on the rocks, and I am just close enough to feel the mist barely spraying on my feet and face. I know I will never get the same view I had back home, but this isn't so bad. It has been hard to get used to the water being so cold here, for back in the Philippines, the water was always beautifully warm. I can't complain though. My family and I are safe now. No more death wherever we go. No more fear that I would have to eat smoked rat for dinner tonight. No more seeing my mother and brother fear that I will not make it to my 17th birthday. My family and I came to America when our home country was being torn apart by poverty and volcanoes of mass destruction. I am now living in the beautiful state of Maine, where the water temperature might be cooler than back in my country, but I think I can get used to it if it means I will get to live till my 17th birthday, be able to drive in a few years, and see my brother get married someday, and watch my mother grow old with the love of her children. But the story of how we got to this point is a sad one. We came to America from the Philippines, where the problems were bigger than a person or 100 people, where there were natural hazards that made our lifestyle dangerous. My family and I were in poverty while in the Philippines. We barely had enough money to buy blankets to lie in so we wouldn't get rocks stuck in our back. My father left us when I was around 6 years old. He came to America by himself and told us he would send word to bring us to America when he was able. It has been 8 years since the day, but to understand my full story, I will have to go back to the day we left.
As I was walking down an old street in my country, my mother stopped and looked at me with her deep blue eyes and told me an incredible life-changing speech. "I want to take you to America," she said. My heart was pounding at the thought that I would be away from my home. "I want to leave because here there are many tragedies that I am afraid will corrupt you and your brother's futures. The government is corrupt here, and I haven't been able to find any suitable jobs. It will be a long journey, and you and your brother would have to get along." My mother went on and on about all the other little details. Honestly, I didn't hear any half of them. I was too focused on the idea of leaving, for we are going to leave this place. I could grow up and get a job, get married, have kids. I was smiling up to my ears with excitement. "Tala, I'm scared to do this, so I need your help to stay strong. Can you do that for me?" I saw the look in my mother's face. It was excited and scared at the same time. I told her that I would get through this strong, and she was so happy she started to cry. She hugged me so tight, and then we kept walking back to our camp. We told my other brother, Jason, about the news. My brother is very strong and very brave. He would do anything to protect me or my mother. Today is the day we take the 18-day boat ride to America from the Philippines. I learned that we are going to be spending 18 days on the ocean, and then we are going to be riding into California, so I get to be on the ocean the whole time. While we were walking to the shipyard, I saw some tears go down my mother's and brother's faces. I was on the verge of crying myself, but I promised my mother that I would stay strong for her. The shipping docks were in sight, and to my surprise, there were not that many people trying to get on the boat. But the people that were looked terrified, as if they were running from something. Just then, I felt a small, slight rumble from under my feet. There it was again. Oh no, I thought. I looked up to the sky to see the volcano breathing smoke with a small burst of fire. A huge shock from it came and made me lose my balance. I fell to my knees, and I saw my brother stumble but not fall. There was another shock, and it rattled the shipping docks, making the crates of cargo fall. I tried to dodge them but couldn't. A crate fell too close to my leg and gashed it deep. I screamed from the pain of it. "Tala!" my brother cried. The volcano was going to send out lava soon, and we had to catch the boat before it left. My brother was trying to get to me, but had to dodge crates of his own. I looked up and saw a crate that was falling right towards me. I pulled my head into my chest in an attempt to avoid the falling crate. It didn't work. The crate smashed into my head. I was out. I woke up and saw my brother's soft blue eyes looking down at me with worry. I tried to sit up, but my brother stopped me. He gently pushed me back down to a lying position and told me not to move. I was a little scared. The pain of the gash in my leg that from the falling crate that hit me started to hurt more and more. My mother came over with a damp towel in her hand and pressed it against my leg to clean it. I cringed from the pain, and at points I let out a small scream and a tear or two. I considered myself lucky, though. I trusted my mother to do it, and my brother wouldn't let go of my hand the whole time. He would whisper to me to remember all of the wonderful things we heard about America, how our new lives would start as soon as we got off this boat, and all of the paths that we could take for our futures. I love my brother more than anyone. I don't care how stupid he can be sometimes. I love him. My mother cleaned up my leg pretty quickly and then bandaged it with a towel. I felt as though I was in a massive dizzy spell the whole time, and the rocky waves bouncing off the boat didn't help. When I was able to sit up again, I had no idea where we were. I asked my brother where we were, and he said about 8 days into the trip. I had not been on that boat for 8 days. It seemed to be that the crate that hit my head hit me so hard that it knocked me unconscious for 7 days. The thought of this was surprising. I didn't even know that was possible. But honestly, there is so much I don't know, and so much I want to learn.
The 18 days went by much quicker than I thought they would. It, o- it only felt as though it was 4 days before we entered the outer rim of America. We just passed through the Florida Keys, where I saw some of the most beautiful islands I've ever seen. From the witnesses of the sand to the greens of the forest, the islands were simply astonishing. We finally stepped onto American soil. The feeling that we were in a new home was nerve-wracking yet comforting. My brother carried me because of my leg, even though I really didn't want him to. As we walked to our new home, the sights were amazing. The beautiful trees and the birds that were singing. But most beautiful of all was the ocean. It was shimmering like I had never seen before. We walked a little while longer until we got to our new home. It was a two-person home, which means it was only two houses in one building. We walked inside and I was astonishingly pleased. It was lovely compared to our old home. There was a sofa, a kitchen, and upstairs with 3 bedrooms. It was perfect.
Comfortable with our new homes. As my brother and I tried to figure out what the TV was, my mother came over and gave a big announcement. Tala, Jason, tomorrow I'm going to start school to become a lawyer. Once again, I was smiling to my ears with joy and excitement. My mother always dreamed of becoming a lawyer, and now she finally gets the chance. Mother, that's fantastic. I ran up. I gave her a huge hug. And so did my brother. This is the life I wanted to live. After a while, my mother started school. It was my turn to start. I was very nervous. I didn't know anybody and I only spoke a little English, but to my surprise, school was amazing. The history of countries that they studied in social studies to the complex equations in math were very interesting to me. I got made fun of in school sometimes, and making friends wasn't the easiest thing I've ever done, but I knew it would on its own time. Maybe after I wasn't so new, or after I learned more English. I wasn't quite sure. My brother found a job working for a grocery store. He had to do that instead of going to school because we need the money for our own food. When we got to America, we didn't have anything. We had to get jobs immediately. A few years went by. We were now on the waiting list to become official American citizens. The studying was brutal, but it will be worth it once we become official American citizens. My mother finished school and applied for a job to be a lawyer in the state of Maine. I was very sad to leave the beautiful scenery of California, but I have heard that Maine has some of the nicest beaches. We got to Maine and moving into a small condo on of the east side of a town called York. My mother said that it was time to go to school in New York for the first time I went to for the first time since I went to school in California. It was a different life in Maine. School got easier as I went on. My mother graduated from going to school to be a lawyer. I love my life in America. There's nowhere near as much crime, and this government is not corrupt. But there was one thing that I didn't like that didn't happen in the Philippines. It was that people made fun of me for being a different race. I wish they weren't, but it's still better than the place with poverty and the streets with people that were afraid of having the government kill them right where they were standing. With me being in this safe community, my mother and brother, I can't think of a better life where the weight of fear is no longer on my shoulders, and for however many hours I want, I can look over the ocean and smile knowing that there was no reason for me to be afraid, for I was now free to live my life the way it should be.
We can help make the arrival of the new immigrants coming to America easier for them by offering them with a setup in the English learning program where they can learn to speak English if it's not their first language. They will also begin to understand the culture in America. Once they learn to speak the language, they will be better able to teach other immigrants some of our ways, making the transition to the U.S. easier.